All right, everybody, it's a few minutes after 7. I think we'll go ahead and get started. It's wonderful to have you all with us tonight. And Kara is here as well. And I'm hoping that I won't get bumped off this call another time, like has happened already. But if I do, Kara will text me and we'll continue the show in one way or another. So don't be discouraged. We are recording the session tonight, so this info session will get downloaded onto the choir's webpage. We're actually going to set up a webpage specifically for the tour, and you can refer to that and send other people there, and that's also where we'll put upcoming information. So anyway, it's wonderful to have you all here. We've got a nice mix of returning singers and some of our newest members who just are joining the choir now. So we're glad to have you all with us. And we know that there are other people who plan to be watching the recording after the fact. But we're here tonight to talk about our planned trip to Brazil in May of 2024. Very exciting for us to be looking at another international trip after having to kind of put that on those plans on hold for a while for various reasons, but here we are, looking forward to a wonderful experience together as we've had on previous trips, both domestic and internationally. So what I would like to do is I'm going to share my screen, and you'll see some PowerPoint slides that I've put together, and that'll kind of walk us through the process tonight. I'm going to recommend that in the interest of time, we know that there may be a lot of questions that you have, a lot of good questions, and we do want to answer those, but I think I would like to request that we plan to answer those perhaps not on the call tonight, but maybe after the fact, just because we want to make sure that we get through all of the information that Kara and I have for everybody. So if you have a question, you have a couple of options. You can put it in the chat tonight and it'll be recorded, and we will make sure that we capture that and get it answered either in person or in writing down the road. You can also send questions via email to Kara or to myself at our regular choir email accounts. Again, that's we know that there will be good questions. We just want to make sure that we get through all of the basic information tonight. And so if we end up with some time left over and there's some questions that we think will be useful to everybody, we might take a few minutes for that. But in general, if you don't mind just keeping your mic on mute so that we don't get distractions, and we'll go from there. So I'm going to share my screen now, and hang on. There we go. And Kara, give me a thumbs up if you're able to see that slide. Great. So my apologies, folks, you may need to adjust the settings of where you're seeing the camera views of the other callers so that you can read all of the text that appears in various places on the slide. So feel free to make whatever adjustments you need to as you're going. And I want to move mine, but there we go. We'll try doing that like that. Great. So we're talking about a tour for the Indianapolis Symphonic Choir and friends from the Butler University Chorale, which I also conduct, as most of you know, to Brazil in May of 2024. And the dates are selected partly to maximize what's happening in the symphonic choir season that spring, and also to take advantage of the Butler calendar, which means that Butler's graduation is, I think, May 11th that year. So it gives us kind of a great opportunity for Butler students who may wish to go with us on the trip, which I hope they will. I think that would be a wonderful experience. Okay. So here's what we're planning to share with you tonight. Welcome and overview. We're doing that right now. We're going to discuss why go to Brazil. And then I will have a day-to-day description of the trip for you, followed by details of what's included in the trip, what's excluded from the trip, and the costs. I will also share with you a little bit about our tour partner, KI Concerts. We've traveled with them before, and one of their newest associates, Chris Brush, who's a friend of ours, longtime friend of ours, is also on the call. So we're glad to have him here as well. And then I will turn it over to Kara, and she'll talk about the process for registration, payments, travel insurance, other details that will be interesting to you. We'd also like to mention that in almost exactly 2 weeks, we've already set up a second Zoom meeting, Sunday, November the 6th at 7 p.m., exactly to talk about whatever questions may be generated tonight or that come up in the interim. And that's not a mandatory meeting, but it's there to be helpful. It'll be Kara and I on the Zoom call taking questions from folks. So 2 weeks from yesterday at 7 o'clock, if you want to get that in your calendar. Why go to Brazil? Well, funny you should ask that. It's a place that I love quite a lot. And despite the fact that we know a lot about Brazil and about Brazilian culture already in this country, it's surprising when you ask how many people have been to Brazil or been to South America in general, that there aren't very many who have. And so it gives us a chance to explore a culturally rich and beautiful part of the world that not very many people have had the opportunity to go to. And frankly, some people feel a little intimidated by perhaps the language, the distance. So this is a great opportunity to go together and to have all of the nuts and bolts taken care of for us in a culturally rich experience. Brazil is the 5th largest country by area in the world and the 7th most populous with over 210 million. It is Portuguese is the 7th most common language worldwide, and Indianapolis has historically had strong ties to Brazil. Currently, Indianapolis is in a sister city relationship with the city of Campinas, which is a suburb outside of São Paulo, and has had in the past was a sister city with Porto Alegre, which is our first stop. If you're on the IUPUI campus, you'll see there's a Porto Alegre street still listed there. It's reflecting that partnership. Over the years, Butler University has been home to many Brazilian conductors who've come to study in our master's program and also in summer workshops, particularly through the Indianapolis Children's Choir. And I think most of you are aware that I've been cultivating partnerships with a number of choirs and conductors in Brazil during my own trips there in recent years. Also, Brazil is home to an amazing array of cultural traditions in music and fine arts and dance and food. And it's one of the most beautiful places in the world to visit. So why wouldn't you want to go there, for heaven's sake? Okay, we're going to shift gears now and talk about the day-to-day itinerary. And before I get into the specifics of that, I will share with you that there are 2 options. There's a core itinerary that is an 11-day trip. And all of these day counts include the travel day to get there and the travel day to come back, because it's an overnight flight to Brazil and an overnight flight back to the United States. So option 1 is a core tour, 11 days of travel. That means on day 1, you leave the United States. On day 11, you return to the United States, May 13 through 23. Option 2 is the core plus the extension. So option 2 is everything in option 1 plus an additional 3 nights in Rio de Janeiro. And we'll explain the specifics of that, and there are those dates. So either 11 days of travel or 14 days of travel, both starting on the 13th and returning to the States on the 23rd or the 26th. So that you will have that choice to make. Which option do you prefer? The cities that we will be visiting, there are 4 main cities. Porto Alegre, which is the capital of the state of Rio Grande do Sul, and it is the farthest south we will go. If you look at the small map, the detailed map to the right, you can see Porto Alegre is the bottommost blue dot. And we are not too far from the border with the country Uruguay when we are in Porto Alegre. You could actually get it in your car and drive to Uruguay if you wanted to. Gramado, which is a vacation town in the mountains near Porto Alegre, we'll go there by bus. Sao Paulo, which we know as the largest city in South America, it's twice the size of New York City, about 20 million inhabitants. And we will fly there. And then those doing the optional extension will go to Rio de Janeiro, which is the uppermost blue pin that you can see in the map. All of these are in what is considered southeastern Brazil, well south of the equator in the southern hemisphere. Those are the 4 cities that we'll be visiting. Chicago to Sao Paulo, which will be the first leg of our airborne journey, is about a 10-hour flight. And then we will change planes in Sao Paulo and fly to Porto Alegre, which is about another 90-minute flight. So it's from Indianapolis to Porto Alegre is about 5,500 miles. It's comparable to going to Central or Eastern Europe from the East Coast of the United States. So pack your eye shades and have a glass of wine with your dinner so you get a little drowsy, watch a movie and doze off. And when you wake up, you'll be in Brazil. Okay, day 1 is the day we depart. We will load up buses from Indianapolis and take buses to O'Hare International Airport, and we will depart on our flight from O'Hare to Sao Paulo, and then a change of planes, as I mentioned, to Porto Alegre. Day 2 is our arrival in Porto Alegre. This picture is a photo that I took just after takeoff on one of my trips. The downtown Porto Alegre is kind of a peninsula surrounded by what is technically an estuary. They call it a lake. It's a beautiful setting, wonderful places to watch the sunset, and I think you'll really enjoy it. Great place to get your first exposure to Brazil. We'll have a city overview tour as we arrive and get to our hotel, and then we'll have, of course, a Brazilian barbecue dinner that first night. So pack your appetites. Day 3, Wednesday, May 15th, we'll have a detailed tour of the city. We'll see the historic market. We'll see the different neighborhoods, the different beautiful water views. We will also have a master class with some conducting students and members of the ISC. And this picture I took in June when I was in Brazil teaching. These are university-age students and up. Some are in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, conductors from choirs around the region who come to Porto Alegre when there are masterclass opportunities. And I said, we would love to offer a conducting masterclass and have the Brazilian student conductors work with members of the ISC in an afternoon masterclass setting. So that will happen that day. Our hosts for our concert and for the masterclass in Porto Alegre is this university, the Pontifical Catholic University of Rio Grande do Sul. This is a private university affiliated with the Jesuits. They have campuses all around Brazil, and this is a big campus. I think there are about 30,000 students. They have a big school, medical school, sciences, and the arts operate not so much as like a conservatory, but as a extracurricular kind of activity. They got a very big choir. They've had orchestras in the past, and they've got some beautiful performing spaces. But we'll be spending time on this campus. And the fellow in the picture with me there is another choral conductor affiliated with the university. His name is Marcio, and he'll be helping to host. Thursday, May 16th, our 4th day, we will give our first formal concert, and it will be inside this theater that you can see the front of here. This is on the university campus. The university is providing the theater to us free of charge for our use, and we will share the concert with the Brazilian choirs that are there. So they will sing some, we'll sing some, and we'll probably find a few things that we can do together. That will be very exciting. And of course, we'll have chances to dine with singers from the Brazilian choirs, have a reception with them, and get to know them, have a great cross-cultural experience. This is inside the theater. The bald guy on the stage is not the artistic director of the Indianapolis Symphonic Choir, but it was nice of him to kind of get there for us to visualize. It's a nice sized stage. It's not huge, but I think it will accommodate us well with choral risers. We don't plan to use orchestra on the tour. We plan to do a cappella and piano, or maybe chamber instruments. Seats about 600 or 700 people, and the acoustics are pretty nice. I think it'll be a good place for us to perform. Then day 5, we'll finish our time in the city of Porto Alegre, and we'll board our buses, and we'll drive about 2.5 hours up into the mountains to the city of Gramado. Gramado, like many cities in southern Brazil, was settled by many Germans and Italians, and particularly Germans in the case of this city. And so you'll see in some of the pictures, it looks a lot like Bavaria, if Bavaria had palm trees and hydrangeas everywhere. It's kind of a crazy mix of things, but it's a beautiful vacation town, and we'll spend 3 days, 2 nights in Gramado, mostly just relaxing and enjoying the sights, but we will also give a concert. You can see the picture on the left is the main church in Gramado. The picture on the right is the main street in Gramado, and you can see how it has kind of a Black Forest architecture look about it. And be forewarned, each shop you will pass sells chocolate. They have a bunch of different chocolate factories in this region of Brazil, as well as wineries. So you're going to have all the chocolate and all the wine you could possibly want while we're in Gramado. Yeah, there's a picture of some of the chocolate. On Saturday, May 18th in the evening, we'll give a free open to the public concert in Gramado. And this picture, it's a little hard to visualize what you're looking at, but this is essentially a city street that has a cover over it, an arch-shaped cover. And so cars don't go up and down the street, but pedestrians walk up and down, and lining both sides are shops and restaurants where people can sit and have a hot chocolate or something to eat. And right behind kind of where this picture is taken, right over my shoulder, is where they set up, they construct a stage with choral risers, and they'll put out 100 or 200 chairs. And so people can come and sit, but they will also pass by and enjoy us singing, and they'll stand and stop and listen. So that'll be a very fun, festive place for us to perform, I think, and get the word out about the symphonic choir. There are a number of choirs and musical organizations in the city of Gramado, and we've initiated contact with them. My friends who are the choir directors have said, yes, they'd want to sing with you. So we think we're going to have a nice exchange opportunity here as well. Sunday, May 19th, day 7. We will fly, we'll take the bus back to Porto Alegre, another couple hours on the bus, and then we will board a flight from Porto Alegre to Sao Paulo. Again, it's about an hour-and-a-half flight, and we will be in Sao Paulo for the next several days. Day 7, the day we arrive in Sao Paulo, we'll have kind of a get-to-know-you orientation tour. This is some stock photos of the city. You can really not get a sense of how big this is until your airplane is coming in to land, and you just see miles and miles and miles of high rises in every direction. 20 million people, it just goes on and on and on. Very beautiful. Day 8, our first full day in Sao Paulo, we'll have a city tour, and we'll also have a rehearsal. And the photo here is the Municipal Theater, which is the home to the orchestra and to the ballet and to the opera, and also to the 2 professional choirs. Their symphonic choir is professional and their chamber choir is professional. And we are hoping, fingers are crossed, that we'll be able to perform in this space. Brazil being Brazil, they don't always plan ahead years in advance. And so although they have our request under advisement, they're not able to confirm yet. So I wanted you to see what that looks like. It's a spectacular space. And I have conducted there. It's a really wonderful acoustic. And now I've got, just to whet your appetite, some photos that I took of Sao Paulo. On the left, I'm with 2 of our guides. The blonde is Gina, and she's from North America, originally American, actually grew up in Ohio. She lives in Rio now and is a professional tour guide, has a Brazilian husband. And she'll be with us from the moment we arrive in Brazil until we leave Brazil. She'll be with us in all the cities. With her is a lovely woman named Maísa, another professional tour guide, who will be with us during the Sao Paulo portion. And they were just delighted to get to know about the symphonic choir and the trip that we're hoping to take. In the background of the photo, you can see the big park. It's sort of Central Park for Sao Paulo, Ibirapuera Park, and we'll go through there. Some wonderful art exhibits that we'll be able to see. Another picture of the Teatro Municipal. And this is inside the theater, the municipal theater. You can see the grand staircase in the background. This is Mayra Ferreira, who was my student, did her master's degree here, and is now conducting the professional chamber choir in Brazil. And she's the one helping us coordinate our activities, our concert activities in Sao Paulo. She's very excited. She sang Zabur with us in New York City when we performed it, and a number of concerts when she was a student here. So she knows us very well. Some more pictures. This area, it looks like kind of an open marketplace. This is called Batman Alley. I don't know why, but that's just what they call it. And it's kind of a labyrinth area of a number of city blocks that are covered with really highly artistic graffiti art. The country takes great pride in its graffiti artists, who are often painting on political themes or social themes. And for whatever reason, because this is Batman Alley, a lot of them have Batman motifs in the artwork. But it's a fun place. We'll tour there. They have restaurants and cafes and bars up and down these streets as well. You can see one of the graffiti is a Peace for Ukraine in the colors of the Ukrainian flag, also with a Batman logo on the heart as well. Villa Madalena is another street famous for samba clubs, Brazilian jazz. And I'm going to take you all there with me at nighttime, because you have to experience live Brazilian samba music. You'll just go crazy. It's the most incredible thing. And here, I hope this will play. Were you able to hear that okay? Good. So that's in the alley. That's outdoors outside of one of the cafes at about 11 o'clock at night. And you can see families with young children and people passing by and listening to the music. You could spend the whole night there. And we won't tell if you do, Carol Thorne. All right. What are the hotels like? We don't know exactly which hotels we'll be in, but they're all in that 3.5 to 4-star category of guest services and amenities and kind of luxury, semi-luxury. You see on the left-hand side a picture of one of the hotel lobbies that we toured when I was there, and then a picture on the right of one of the rooms. The rooms will be a mix of these kind of queen-size beds for couples, as well as rooms that will have 2 separate beds. Sometimes you can push the separate beds together if that's of interest. I think all the hotels we looked at had workout facilities. A lot of them had swimming pools. You'll see this one I took a picture of. The swimming pool was on the 44th floor overlooking the city, quite lovely. And there's a room with the twin beds. This is inside the municipal theater from one of the high balconies to give you that lovely perspective. And when I was there in 2017, Mayra invited me to conduct her choir. And so here's a little snippet of us in rehearsal. Kind of fun to do a Moses Hogan arrangement with a Brazilian choir. Oh yeah, let's talk about the food. We're going to eat very well while we're on our trip. And on the left-hand side in the photo are some representative things that you would find at a typical Brazilian barbecue. If you've been to Fogo de Chão, downtown Indianapolis, or any other locations, you know kind of what this is about. That's steak on the left. That's the picanha cut. That's my favorite. In the middle is pineapple with cinnamon on it. They actually barbecue the pineapple on a long spit, and it's delicious. And then sausages on the right. You will eat very well. Wonderful fruits, some of which you've never seen in your life before, that you will enjoy. There's Drico showing an array of kind of our breakfast table. The Avenida Paulista is the main street through downtown Sao Paulo. And on Sundays, they close it to vehicular traffic, and it's just pedestrians and bicycles. Our hotel will be either on this street or right around the corner from the street. So it's going to be optimally located for us to get to everything that we want to get to, and also to enjoy the local sites. There's a wonderful couple of art museums there, and a lot of great shopping and stuff. So it'll be a great location in Sao Paulo. Day 9, Tuesday, May 21st, we'll give a concert in Sao Paulo. Again, inside this theater is our hope, and we'll have a farewell dinner. Day 9 is our last full day on the core package of the trip. And day 10, core travelers will begin their journey home in the afternoon. Again, it'll be an overnight flight, so they will depart Sao Paulo on Wednesday, May 22nd, and return to Indianapolis Thursday, May 23rd. Those electing the tour extension will fly from Sao Paulo to Rio that afternoon. It's not a long flight, it's about an hour long. But it's like a 12-hour drive. It's just the roads aren't that great. So it's much better to fly very fast. Day 11 on Thursday, our first full day in Rio, we're going to tour some of the wonderful sites that you've all seen pictures of. And I'll preface this by saying, once we get to Rio, we are done performing. Once we get to Rio, we're just on vacation. We're just being tourists and seeing the sights and enjoying the culture. We have no concert scheduled because we didn't know how many people would choose to do the extension. We didn't want to have that pressure. In this photo, you can see the famous Christ the Redeemer statue, which stands atop the famous mountain Corcovado. You reach the top by taking a cogwheel train that goes up the side, and then you walk and take escalators up to the base of the statue, and you cannot believe the beautiful views that you can see of the city from atop Corcovado. In this photo, in the background, you can see the ocean and a crescent-shaped beach. That's the Ipanema beach. And then there's a lake in the foreground, kind of at Christ's feet, that's very beautiful, with boulevards and jogging trails all around, and then a polo club that you can see down there as well. We'll also have a behind-the-scenes carnival tour. Rio is the home of carnival. Carnival celebrations take place in the run-up to Lent. So just before Ash Wednesday is when the biggest parades happen, but it's a year-long activity in all of Brazil, and we will tour places where the carnival decorations and floats are made, and we'll learn about the music that is an important part of carnival, the songs and the culture that all that represents. We'll also have a tour of the historic center of Rio de Janeiro, which was at one time the capital of the country. Day 12, Friday, the 24th of May, we'll have some free time to enjoy the beach. The photo on the left and the right are both photos of Copacabana Beach, one of the most famous beaches in the world. You can recognize the sidewalk kind of wavy black and white pattern of the pavement. That is used to identify Copacabana. So anytime you see that on clothing or a towel, they're referencing that sidewalk that's there. Other beaches have a different pattern. Our hotel will be on this main street. We will have a view of the beach from the hotel and be able just to walk across the street. That walkway has 100,000 kiosks where you can get a beer or a drink or a sandwich or lunch or breakfast or dinner. And at nighttime has live music up and down. The beach itself is about 2 or 3 miles in length, and you can just go sampling a beverage and the music at each of the kiosks. And that's a wonderful way to spend an evening. Ask me how I know. During the evening, we will go to Sugarloaf Mountain, Pão de Açúcar, which is a bus ride away. You can actually see it in the background, Sugarloaf Mountain. And it's another high vista of the city that you get to by taking not one, but two cable cars to the top. So here's a picture of Sugarloaf Mountain. I'm sure you've seen photos of this before. And you can see very clearly to the very right of the photo, the first cable car that goes up to kind of the medium-sized mountain, and then there's a second cable car that goes up to the top. The view from there is just spectacular. You won't want to come down. They'll plan to take us up there to watch the sunset, which I've never done. Been up there a few times, but I've never seen the sunset, and I'm really excited about that. And here is my video of the ride up. It's really spectacular. And this is the view from the top. Drico and Julio, my stepson, and I, you can see Copacabana Beach in the background and one of the viewing platforms just kind of over my head. Another view. Day 13, our last day in Brazil, we'll have free time in the morning. You can go back to the beach or do some last minute shopping. We'll head to the airport in the afternoon, and we'll depart that afternoon. I believe we'll have to connect in Sao Paulo. So Rio to Sao Paulo to Chicago, and then bus back to Indianapolis on Sunday, May 26th. So that's the day by day. Oh, there's Drico saying, please come to Brazil. And there's both of us saying, please come to Brazil. This picture was taken at the base of the Christ sculpture statue, and you can see Sugarloaf Mountain off of Drico's left shoulder off in the distance. It's just the views you just can't believe. Such a beautiful city. Okay, let's get to some of the details. Let me get a little bit of water first. So we've talked about the choice between the core package and the core plus extension. So looking at the table on the left-hand side of the slide, the core package includes ground and air transportation from Indy, double occupancy in the hotels, 3.5 to 4-star level accommodations, 3 nights in Porto Alegre, 2 nights in Gramado, and 3 nights in Sao Paulo. Breakfast is taken care of every day. You won't ever have to worry about breakfast. We'll eat in the hotel every morning for breakfast. And I always take an extra roll with me during the day just for when I get the munchies. You will also, it works out that we'll have another meal provided just about every day. So 2 lunches and 6 dinners over the course of our time in Brazil in the core package. Core package travelers will arrive home on day 11, Thursday, May 23rd. Core plus extension travelers include everything I've already said, plus 3 nights in Rio. So 3 additional nights. The meal count is breakfast every day, a total of 3 lunches, a total of 7 dinners, and arrive home on day 14, Sunday, May 26th. Package pricing. So the core package is $42.45. The core plus extension adds $1,000, $52.45. This is everything that I mentioned in the slide before. So your bus transportation from Indianapolis and all flights, your double occupancy hotel, the meals as we described, all of the guides, all of the entrances to tourist sites. You won't have to buy any entrance tickets for any group activities to the Christ statue or Sugarloaf Mountain. The things it doesn't include are incidental things that you want to pay for and buy, souvenirs and gifts. As I mentioned, we set it up so that there's on average 1 meal that you are on your own. And we did that because we think that's an important part of the cultural experience. Get recommendations from me or from the tour guides where to go, and go have a meal on your own or with a group of friends. The There is the possibility to purchase a land package only. So if you have a ton of frequent flyer miles and you want to book the flights yourself, you can do that at the amounts listed here, $24.95 for the core, or $3,095 for the core plus the extension. I will say that that is no flights included at all, including the domestic internal flights in Brazil. So that will be an additional charge. And the tour company has offered to arrange those for somebody choosing the land-only package, but you just need to be aware that that'll add $200 to $400, I would guess, per person to book those. If you do the inclusive price, all of those flights are taken care of. The tour company is setting up a payment plan for us starting in January of 2023, and accepting payments every other month. And Kara will go into more detail about the payment plan and how all of that works. We know that this is not a decision that anyone's going to make very lightly. Going to Brazil and going to South America is a commitment. But as we've said all along, we want to make this as doable for everybody who wants to go as possible. I'm actually quite pleased with the dollars, with the pricing that the tour company has given us, considering that this is 2 years down the road. We don't know what fuel prices are going to be, I've been comparing. My friends who are taking groups to Europe right now are paying this same amount to go to Europe. We're going a lot farther away, where airfares can be prohibitive sometimes. So this is a pretty good situation. But like I say, we understand it's a commitment, and we'll work as much as we can with everybody to make it as possible as we can. I'd like to talk a little bit about our tour partners, KI Concerts. You're welcome to check them out at their website, kiconcerts.com. They've been in business for decades. The owners and managers are friends of mine, as is Chris Brush. We've already talked about him a little bit ago. We toured with KI Concerts in 2010 when we went to China, and again in 2014 when we went to Italy. They do this sort of travel all the time, many trips with friends of ours, including Henry Leck, Rollo Dilworth, Pearl Shankwon, all conductors who are well known to us. And so I really have great confidence that we're going to be in very, very good hands with KI Concerts. So I wanted to mention that. As I mentioned, we're going to pass the Zoom platform over to Kara here in just a moment. She'll have some important information. And keeping an eye on the time, it's looking like we're not going to have much time for anybody's questions tonight, as we kind of anticipated. So again, just keep track of those, put them in the chat, send them to us via email, and we'll get to those. But don't forget that we will have a follow-up Zoom meeting. Oh, sorry, that date needs to be changed, doesn't it? Sunday, November 6th at 7 p.m., not Monday. Sunday, November 6th. My apologies about that. So, Kara, I will pass it over to you.
Fabulous. Let me first start so I can kind of show you, since he was talking about payments and how those payment plans work. I'm going to start by showing you how those payment plans will work. That your first payment will actually come to the Indianapolis Symphonic Choir through DonorView. So you'll get information for how to make your initial payment by January 10th. We actually hope to open up registration shortly after our next meeting. After that, your payments will be every other month from that January date through your KI Concerts dashboard. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. And it's really actually a really easy process. I went through the registration process today so I could help navigate that for you. And it's really very easy. So you can kind of see how this is plotted out with the final payment being that last lump sum at the end for your total. There is a 3% transaction fee charged at the time of each payment made by credit card or debit card. So allow for that as well. So this will all be information that we'll also make accessible to you. So now let me kind of go through some A few FAQs and things that you might be thinking about right now, and hopefully this will answer a lot of the questions that you might have already. So like I said before, your initial payment will come to the ISC through DonorView. Upon confirmation of that payment, you will be sent a detailed instructions and a link to register for the trip through KI Concerts. So you'll create your own account through them. When you create that account, you're going to be asked for your contact information, whether you're a performer or non-performer, passport information. Okay. If you do not have a valid passport, you may enter this later. However, it does need to be listed with them 120 days prior to departure, and your passport must be valid through December of 2024. So check the dates on your passports now, so you can kind of make arrangements to get those updated if you need to do so. We'll also ask for frequent flyer number information. So you'll have the ability to attach your frequent flyer number to this trip as well. Flying accommodation needs. So this is for medical only. When you fill this out, we ask that it's for basically if you need an aisle seat due to medical concerns, or if you need a wheelchair at the airport. So also when you request this, this will also trigger a phone call or email from KI Concerts as to other accommodations you may or may not need on the tour. So we're going to be traveling outside the United States, which also means we're outside of our typical ADA guidelines. So we are working with KI Concerts to meet those challenges, and we'll continue to communicate their plan to the best of our ability as far as making those accommodations for us. You roommates. So you will have the option to provide your roommate's name at the time of registration. And it's basically a place that says, I would like to room with, and you can fill in the blank. So double room occupancy is the default for each package. You do have an option to select a single room for an additional charge, depending on which package. If it's just the core package, I think it's an additional $740. The core package with extension, it's $940. If you want a roommate assigned to you, we will do the best that we can to accommodate that and create a roommate list for KI Concerts, although we can't guarantee it depending on the numbers that we have traveling with us. Family registration. So it is best if you have family members going, it is best to register your family members immediately after you register yourself. You don't have to, but it really works best for the system if you do it that way. So towards the end of your registration process, at the registration summary page, you'll click the green add another registration in the upper right-hand corner of the page. Now, don't worry about writing this information. I will make all of this information available in a document so you can revisit the instructions here. So don't worry about frantically writing notes. And just so you know what to expect right now. Once you do that, this will attach the registrants to the same family group, which is nice. And I will note this here, but you'll come up later on. Selecting add a traveler or add an account does not register someone for a trip. Okay, that just puts someone on your account. So you really, it's a matter of adding a registration to make sure that that person is registered. So following registration, you will receive a confirmation with a link to your dashboard. That's going to be your home base for all of your payments and other information that we will receive from KI Concerts. Also, you will receive a link to Traveled Insured International for optional insurance packages, and a link to a deviation request or land only form as well, if you want something like that. And I'll talk about that in just a minute. Travel insurance. So travel insurance is optional, but it is highly recommended, and especially in this day and age. You may choose to use the company recommended by KI or to shop around for your own. If you have the cancel for any reason insurance, it must be purchased within 14 days of making your initial deposit to the Indianapolis Symphonic Choir. This is really important. So when you get that email from us after you make your payment and DonorView, I want you to don't put it aside, because that travel information is, and that link is important for you to take advantage of. So you make sure that's the only way you can secure cancel for any reason travel insurance. Cancellations. If you need to cancel, the first thing you do at any time is to notify the symphonic choir. So email me and let me know. If a substitute traveler can be identified to travel in your place, you may receive 100% of what you have paid up to that point. If no substitute is available or named, you have the ability to receive up to 75% back up to 120 days prior to departure. So inside of that 120 days, that's not a possibility. Deviation and changes. These are possible. These are the kinds of things you will do through your KI Concerts dashboard. So changes made to your travel package are though subject to a change fee completed through KI. For instance, travel accommodations or upgrades, personal deviation from the trip or extensions, or if you change from the core package to land only, those types of things may be subject to a change fee. Payments. So I already mentioned that the initial payment goes to the symphonic choir, and then from there you're going through the KI Concerts dashboard that you have set up at registration. So I highly recommend once you do that, bookmark that page so you know how to get to it. If a family is traveling together and setting up registrations together, you do have the option to either pay invoices separately or to pay multiple invoices at one time. So that's there for your convenience if you wish to do so. There is that 3% transaction fee, though, that you should plan for as well with your payments. Bus transportation for Chicago. This is included in the package. If you choose to obtain your own transportation to Chicago, you do so at your own expense. There is no credit offered if you choose not to travel on the bus to Chicago. So that will be on your own if you choose to. And at your own risk too, for making sure that you catch that flight that is assigned to us. Airline seating will be assigned at check-in. Seat requests may be made at that time. And then the other question we might get, documentation. You will not need a visa to travel to Brazil, but you do need a valid passport. And as I said before, this will need to be obtained and submitted to your dashboard in your registration 120 days prior to departure. And it will need to be a valid passport through 6 months past our travel. So through December of 2024. So I think that sums up much of what I had. Hopefully that answered a lot of questions you have right now. As Eric mentioned, if you have, oops, did I lose you?
Nope, you're still there.
Okay. Oh, I closed out my page. If you have additional questions, please do put them in the chat, and those are the kinds of things, or send an email to us and we will hopefully answer those questions at our next meeting on the 6th of November.
Thanks so much, Kara. So if you are listening tonight and you are like, yes, I want to go to Brazil, here's my money, sign me up right now. I can't wait to go and get on the plane and go with you. I can see it in Rodney Martin's eyes that is exactly how he's feeling. So that's awesome. Just hold tight for a little bit. The registrations, the initial registration process will start shortly, just after we have our follow-up meeting 2 weeks from yesterday, next Sunday. As I mentioned, that meeting is not required, but if you find it helpful to come and ask some questions or just hear a little bit more detail about it, you're welcome to come. As Kara mentioned, we'll be putting all this information on the choir's webpage, and there's going to be a new part of the webpage for just tour information, and you'll be able to watch all of this presentation again if you would like to. We also have a detailed itinerary from the tour company that will be living on that page as well, where you can download that and print that out if you would like. I assume that you would like to do that at some point as well. Yeah, so we know that this is a lot of information, kind of a fire hose approach, and that you certainly will have some questions. So as we said, please let us know what those are between now and our follow-up meeting on Sunday, or bring them with you to that meeting a week from Sunday, and we'll be happy to answer them. We'll also be seeing lots of you at rehearsals now that we're starting up with the full choir, and we'll be able to take some questions and answer some questions then as well. I would like to reiterate that this tour is open to everybody, not just singing members of the symphonic choir. So if you have friends or family who are curious about coming to Brazil and would like to come along with us as roadies, we welcome their participation in the trip. The more the merrier. So please feel free to share this information with anybody that you think may have interest. And while we are encouraging everybody who wants to go to get registered and pay their deposit as quickly as possible after we've opened that portal, we anticipate that we will be able to accept late joiners to the tour, depending on a couple of factors. We are cost limited to numbers in certain groups. And so right now we are accepting registrations up to about 75 travelers, because if we go beyond 75 but not quite to 90, then the cost is going to go up because of how the bus situation works. We have to charter another bus, but we can't spread that additional fee over quite so many travelers. So we're going to accept registrations up from traveler number 1 up to traveler number 75, and then we'll create a wait list beyond that. And I think we'll need another 20 travelers or so to be able to accept them at the same price point. So there is an advantage to getting your initial registration, and your deposit paid, so that you know for sure that you're going on the trip. I'll also say, just here in our last couple of minutes, 2 things about touring. And I think most of us on this call know, because of previous experiences that we've had with performing arts groups, that touring is an entirely different animal, and it creates entirely different opportunities from the ones that we have when we do local performances. When we do local performances here in Indianapolis, or even in surrounding communities outside of Indianapolis, of course we get the high that comes with a successful concert and the pats on the back from our audience. But when we're touring and when we're traveling together and experiencing a new culture, meeting musicians from another country and performing with them, we are taking that experience to an entirely different level, to an entirely higher experience, where we're engaging our humanity as well as our artistry, and learning about the world in which we live. And I'm so pleased to see so many of you interested in knowing about this trip, because it gives me hope that we're going to have a wonderful, wonderful experience. Yes, a trip to Brazil, a trip to South America is a major commitment of time and resources, but I can guarantee you there will never be a better time to go, or a cheaper way to go and have the rich cultural immersion experience that we are offering through our friends at KI Concerts than this trip. This is not just a tour where we'll go and sing and people will come and meet the Indianapolis Symphonic Choir, but we will make music and learn about music with singers and conductors and musicians from Brazil. And we'll have dinner with them. We'll walk around the campus together with them. It'll be such a rich and wonderful kind of exchange experience, that I really hope that we can make this opportunity available to everybody who wants to go, because I know it's going to be a life-changing one, one that's that we'll be talking about for years to come. The same as we still talk about the wonderful trips we've had to China and Italy and here domestically as well. So with that, I will thank you all for joining us. Chris, thank you for joining us as well. We know we'll be seeing you. Do you think you might be available on Sunday, the 6th at 7 p.m. Indianapolis time for that follow-up call?
If you'd like me to be available, I would be happy to do so.
I think, why don't you and Kara and I talk before then?
Sounds
I
great.
think it might be great to welcome you to the call in more than just spectator mode, but to ask you to share whatever you might want to share at that time with us as well, because we know you are
Certainly.
an experienced guide for these things, and that can be really wonderful information for us. All right, folks, thank you so much for your attention tonight. We'll look forward to seeing you, most of you, at Symphonic Choir Festival of Carols 2022, night 1 tomorrow, and the rest we'll be seeing around. But thanks very much. Have a great evening.